Not too long ago, Samsung released its One UI 5.0 update, and it comes with some accessibility updates and changes. So let's talk about it. Hi everyone, it's Carrie on accessibility, and if you're interested in accessibility on different platforms, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. So let's talk about this update. And of course, this is Android, so if you haven't received One UI 5.0 yet, then maybe you'll get it sometime soon, hopefully. So there was an update for magnification, for talkback. There is a new sort of old magnifier. There is some changes to the accessibility shortcut, as well as a new toggle in settings for audio description. This is just going to be a brief overview of all of these updates, and if you've noticed anything that I haven't talked about, leave that in the comments so we can start a conversation about it. First, let's talk about magnification. So I'm going to enable my magnification, and I have the triple tap on, so I'm going to triple tap. Now, the border around the magnification field is blue. On most Android phones, it is orange. I think Samsung just wants to be different from the rest of Android, so it's blue now. It's interesting, for talkback you can change the focus indicator color and even make a thicker border, but with magnification, Samsung just has chosen blue for us. I don't even understand why we have to have a border. If it's magnified, I can see it. But anyway, there is now an icon on the bottom right corner, and it disappears after a few seconds if you do not touch the screen. So if you just touch the screen a little bit, the icon will come back, and you can actually move this icon around wherever you kind of want it. And it actually has some kind of like label, but I can never read it, so I have no idea what that says. But if you tap on that, it will take you to magnification lens. From here, you can use it like the Android magnification lens on Pixel devices or other devices that have Android 13. But now Samsung has made it so that there is another icon at the bottom right of the lens. It also has like this little annoying thing that I can't read what it says because I can't actually magnify whatever that pop-up says. I guess we just have to ignore that. On the bottom right of the lens, there is a little blue kind of icon thing, and if I tap on that, there is a new dialog box here where we can change the lens size from small, medium, large, or full screen. There's also something called allow diagonal scrolling, and honestly, I'm really not sure what that means, and if you know, please let me know down in the comments. There's also a zoom level slider, so you can zoom in and out with it. And then at the very bottom, there is the close button. On the top right of this window that appears at the bottom of the screen is something called edit. The thing is, if you do want to edit, you will probably want to change the size of your lens. So you'll probably want to do either medium or small, and this is because the edges of the lens are right on the left and right edge of the screen, and then when you try to adjust the lens, it's really hard because when you swipe from the side, it's a back gesture for Android. So I just selected, I think, medium, and now I'm gonna hit edit, and now you should be able to drag a corner and make whatever kind of weird shape size of lens you want. Then the bottom right, like that little tiny blue icon at the bottom right of the lens, is a check mark, and then I'll just take you to the regular lens. So these are very interesting updates. I don't know why we don't have edit on other phones, but the only thing is that it takes a few more taps to get back to full screen. The reason why I use lens sometimes is to see emojis on the keyboard and certain other features on the keyboard, like the clipboard and things like that, and GIFs. And so the only way to magnify on those parts of the screen is using lens. But now, if I do use lens, I have to tap on that bottom right corner of the lens, and then it'll bring up the little modal, and then I have to tap on the full screen button, which is the last button in the row of icons. Before, there used to be like this floating little button that you could just press it to toggle back and forth for the lens, and I kind of miss that. Carrie from the future here. I'm editing this video and I forgot to mention that there is a bug where if you have lens magnification and you turn on talkback, your phone crashes and you'll have to restart. So I would suggest not doing that until they fix this bug. And even if it doesn't crash your phone, it still makes talkback really slow and unresponsive. Next, let's talk about talkback. And ever since Samsung and Google saying that they would partner and everything and have just one talkback instead of voice assistant and whatnot, now it's just a mess because Samsung is using talkback, except they're not using the latest Google talkback. They have to use their own talkback that you update in the Galaxy Store. You can download that from the Galaxy Store and make sure that's updated. And what's new is that there is now image description, or something that says describe image within the talkback settings, and there is also icon detection. So basically, now Samsung's talkback has kind of caught up to the actual Google's talkback. If you do want to try out the describe image feature, just bring up your talkback menu.
Copy last spoken phrase.
Scroll all the way down and double tap there.
Detected. Text 7:44. Wednesday, November 9th.
So it just read a inaccessible clock widget that I have that just has the time and date really large. But the thing is that describe image doesn't actually describe images. I tried to do it with like people and different objects and stuff, and no, it's basically just for text, and works sometimes. So you can definitely try it, and hopefully it will help, even if it's just a little. When it comes to icon detection, what's pretty terrible is that Samsung left out the icon detection toggle. On my Pixel, I can turn icon detection on or off in the talkback settings, but for Samsung, I don't know why, but it's just not there. It is really annoying when it comes to Telegram and maybe a few other apps, but mostly in Telegram. So here is Telegram, and in the conversations list, this is what it says.
Detected. Icon. Mute. 2 of 42.
It doesn't actually tell me which conversation that is. So sometimes it does work,
John
like
Hyatt.
if there's no icon.
Received 12 saved messages. Detected. Icon. Check. 6 of 42.
But there's like, it just happens a lot of the time, and it's just annoying. Why can't we turn it off? This is Android. We should be able to turn things on and off whatever we want and customize. One other thing is that before, if you go to notification
shade.
and you swipe one time to the right, you can get settings, and now
Bluetooth on.
if you do
Image.
that,
NFC on. Alarm. Ringer vibrate. Wi-Fi signal full. Phone 2 bars. Battery 54%. Wednesday, November 9th. Open settings. Button.
it'll read through all of that before it gets to the settings button. So, you could just use Explore by Touch, or just ask Google Assistant to, open settings. Within settings, if you go to accessibility,
Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
and if you go down to spoken content,
Accessibility. Spoken. Visibility and spoken assistance. 3 of 11.
spoken assistance, double tap there.
Spoken assistance. Spoken assistant. Audio description. If available, automatically select the audio soundtrack with an audio description while watching videos. Off. Switch. 1 of 4. In list. 4 items.
And the first option here says audio description, and I honestly haven't really tested it but it's supposed to be similar to iPhone's audio description toggle, where it'll automatically turn on audio description for, I guess, things like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney and things like that. Now there's also magnifier. So if you go to accessibility and double tap there, if you go down to
recommended for you, talkback, spoken assistant, visibility enhancements, 4 of 11.
Visibility enhancements, you can double tap there.
Not check. High contrast off. Highlight button on.
And
Color
if you
inversion,
go down a little bit,
remove animations. Color filter. Color adjust. Remove animations. Reduce transparency. Extra dim. Off. Size and magnifier. 15 of 19.
there is now magnifier, and I could have sworn there used to be a magnifier and then they took it away and now they're putting it back. So you can double tap there.
Magnifier. Magnify your surroundings using the camera. In list. 3 height. Magnifier shortcut. Use accessibility gesture. 2 of 3.
And you can set magnifier as your accessibility gesture. You can also put it on the home screen, but it is not technically an app that other apps can use, like Button Mapper and things like that. So I'll quickly give you a little look at that. So
no menu items. Magnifier. Android system. Magnifier.
This is
Zoom
what
out.
magnifier looks like. So once you open magnifier, and this is just a reader that my son has, you have the viewfinder at the top, and this is in portrait. There is a button. Zoom out, there's a zoom slider,
100% zoom in button,
and there's a zoom in button,
flashlight
off or on, so it's like a toggle.
Capture.
You can capture and do freeze frames.
Color.
And then there is a color button here. So you can do filters, you can also go into there, and there is
50%, 50 contrast, image,
brightness and image. Contrast. Honestly, WeZoom is a lot better and I like it a lot more, so I don't really see myself using Samsung's magnifier, and it really reminds me of like a little bit of iPhone's magnifier, but I'll go more in depth into the Samsung's magnifier and also what I wish I could change in another video. And if I already have that up, I will have that popped up in this screen on the top or down in the description somewhere. Lastly, I am really happy to say that Samsung brought back the accessibility gesture, except sadly they broke the very nice implementation that Google has. So on Android, what's supposed to happen is if you have TalkBack off, you can use 2 fingers to swipe up from the bottom of the screen if you have accessibility gesture enabled and set up, and it will do something like inverting the colors on the screen, and each time you do it, it will invert the colors. But if you do have TalkBack, you have to use 3 fingers from the bottom and swipe up. If you swipe up and hold, it's supposed to bring up other accessibility features that you have set up for the accessibility gesture, and you can change your default. So Samsung actually does better with the handling of the gesture. So on my S22, I can actually very consistently get the gesture to work, which I can't seem to do with the Pixel 7, which is really frustrating. But now, if you set up more than one accessibility feature to the gesture, it will always bring up a menu. Let me show you. Since I have TalkBack on, I'm going to swipe up with 3 fingers from the bottom of the screen.
Edit shortcuts. No menu items.
And I did not swipe up and hold. This is just swiping up.
Magnifier. Color inversion. Off.
And now I have a menu. Every time, a menu. This is not how it's supposed to work, and if somehow there's somebody who works in Samsung and their design team and their accessibility team, if they could please just make the implementation the same way that Google intended it to be, that would be really, really great, because I like really quick access to a lot of accessibility features. Like I like inverting colors, I like magnifier, at least I want to try it. I like select to speak, I like live transcribe because my brother is deaf and I want to have that easily available. And it would be really nice if I could just use the swipe up and hold gesture to bring that up. But I still want to keep like the really fast like color inversion that's available. So I hope that they fix that in a future update. One other thing is that TalkBack can now use the accessibility gesture assignment. So you can assign a specific gesture to do the accessibility gesture shortcut in case you don't want to do the 3-finger swipe up from the bottom, which was broken in the last update. So those are the updates. Again, if you noticed any other changes, let us all know down in the comments. And yeah, I think that there are some good things, some iffy things, and I still really wish that Samsung would work directly with Google to kind of fix all this stuff, but I am hopeful for the next updates. That's it for this video. Again, if you're interested in accessibility on different platforms, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss any videos. See you in the next one.